Hello, my name's Kari, and I bought a trailer. And it wasn't in the best condition. I didn't spend a lot of money on it. It is a fixer-upper. It's a 1976. So if you're living in a place like this, like I'm going to be, you're going to need to fix up some things right away. On top of the difficulty of getting someplace to accept an older trailer to park it permanently, there's the don't get lost in details. I'm here to introduce. So I'm going to build a door. The door that I have that it came on with was mangled when the people I bought it from were backing it up into its storage. I'll show it when I begin here. But getting the door to close requires duct tape to keep a paneling down and a chain through where the door handle used to be. So this is an immediate concern that needs to be fixed right away. The trailer does not have any bad water damage. The only thing that's bad with this is the little dome at the top blew off. So I have a temporary fix with plastic. It doesn't need to be tarped over like some of the ones that you see, so at least I have that. But there are some roof issues that I'm going to need to deal with, but right now it's about the priorities. So here we go. I'm going to be building a trailer door. Okay, so here is my trailer, and this is as the door came with it. You can see that they had run into something when backing it up into a tight spot from where I bought it. I have had this part taped down. You can see they had tied the corner down, and that is how I've been securing it. So you see the need that I've had to get this fixed immediately. The window is also broken, and that is why that is there. Whoop. Oh dear God, I need to be quiet. I hate making noise. So I have to pull the door back like this, push it in, and if nothing's in the way, then, I reach through the broken window and I chain it from the inside. And that is as good as it is locked. So, here is the before. Okay, so I was sitting here fixing my trailer. The door doesn't shut all the way, and I was just kind of killing time and working on it. I realized I was going to film this kind of shit when I did it. So here's what I was doing. Okay, you can see that I have the stuff kind of cleaned out there. Not 100% because there still is some stuff here and here. But I don't want to ruin all of the subflooring right now going through it and digging it out. Because if you're wanting to really get at it, you have to see, to get the frame out, it takes quite a bit. And I don't have the time to really do that right now, so we're just going to get it fixed so the door can lock and I can feel safe and secure, not only when I'm sleeping, but when I'm away. And we'll just kind of do this one-handed here. See, I'm not going to get it completely flat. I have not hammered here, but if you take a look, you can see that that is more of an indent. So I'm trying to get that all as level as possible so you can see where I've clamped it. I'm also going to be clamping it right here and right here for when I pound, but I'm going to go along the edge as I do that. So I'm going to pound here and then here and a little bit here. Okay, so that's made a little bit of a difference, but you can see it's not much. What I'm going to be doing, see, this needs to be done down as well, but there is nothing underneath that. I'm going to have to replace this subflooring eventually, but this is not something we're going to do right now because I don't have the time to do it. And, you know, with work getting in the way, there's only so much you can do at a time. And scheduling what you're going to do and finding priorities is really important. So I was fixing the trailer light problem, but since I found a place to park it, this takes precedent. So I'm going to stop the trailer wiring stuff, save that for later, and do this. You can see that I've moved the C-clamp over here. The flap was way up, and so rather than put the C-clamp further where it was up the most, I'm putting it close to the edge because that's where the bend is. That's why the C-clamp is here. And so I'm going to get a hammer and hammer on both sides of this to just kind of help this stay, kind of like recreate its memory. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to move the clamp over here and do it once again, take it off, and see how it sits. Alright, so one thing I wanted to show, which is going to be a little bit difficult to get it 100%, which I'm not really going for, it's just fixable and passable at this point. So, if you will see right here, so this right here needs to be right there, just like with this side is. So that's supposed to be even and level. So you can see right there that that's a problem. But when it shuts, we need it here. And since this side is the real solid part, that's where the striker plate is, where we're going to need it to lock. So the door is not going to be square. And if you go ahead and you measure it out, make a square door, it's not going to fit right. And I'm going to kind of show how to do it on the fly. If you're building something brand new and from scratch, then you're going to want to level it out. But even with something such as a trailer or a home, if the foundation is not level 100%, then you're going to need to compensate to get it level in the end, which is, you know, I'll kind of show that. Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to be framing this out with a 2x2. There's the pin mark, as you can plainly see, and so to make sure it gets right, whoops, I measure it from the bottom up to there. And you can see that I haven't gotten it exactly flush, and frankly I want to undercut it more than overcut it, because you want to leave enough space for some weather stripping, because of the back there's the weather stripping, but I'm also going to be putting it on the inside, on the inside of the frame as well. It's not going to stick very good, but once again, we're going to keep the weather out. This is short-term stuff, and, you know, frankly, I may just stick it to the new frame. Don't look at my bedding. Okay, so anyway, I'm just pausing right here. I need to cut it. Okay, so I showed you that first cut at the bottom, and now what we're going to do is we're going to cut the top here. And it's really tempting when you first do that, since you have the bottom cut or the first piece cut, to put it on top of the other and then measure it from the top there and to go. But to make it structurally sound, you need to have the opposite end of the beginning. So the two supports in the middle will be the same, rather than this kind of endless circle like MC Escher, you know, the staircase. And I'll go ahead, I've marked that up already, but I'll kind of show you what I did. I stepped up in the trailer. Keep a pin handy right where you can grab it right away. It's really important. It's one of the things I lose my shit on when I'm working on something and I forget that simple little thing and I need to stop what I'm doing, which will distract me. So, we went ahead, and since this is completely flush up here, like it's not with the bottom, I'm going to measure it from the edge of the door, and there's some stripping, weather stripping here, that I'm going to hold this up brace it with my thumb on this side on the end, so I have a balance or a bleh. So I slide it here. I put it so it's placed against the weather stripping without pushing it in. And then I grab my pin, and once again, it's better to undercut it than overcut it with a door. Having to come back several times is a pain in the ass, but if you're unsure about this, haven't done it before, you might want to go in the increments. Just be prepared to spend a lot of extra time. And so you come over here, it's braced, and I eyeball it, and since you're coming in at an angle with the pin, make sure that you, once again, you under measure it, because this is where it's the most overcuts are done. And if you're a carpenter, you can tell that I'm really doing it the easy and appropriate way. So here we go. Okay, I'm back from cutting the piece. So you put it in, whoop, and it fits up here with enough play. And it is just like we wanted. There is enough room for the weather stripping and for it to come out unencumbered. And now what we're going to do, the leftover piece is too short to make an appropriate brace. For the frame, brace, God. I'm sure the hardcore people are really making fun of me. So, I'm not going to measure this on here, but you're going to take this piece and you put it at the bottom, and you do the measuring like I said, and this is the one that you want to overcut rather than undercut, because this has to be perfect. Yay! Okay, so I'm going to show you the cut, and I have the first piece I cut at the very bottom, and I'm placing this on top of it. Because of the awning right here, this is at an angle. So when this essentially gets tipped back, and I measure it just straight across, it will be taller than I want it to be, and it's not going to fit right, and I'm going to have to go back and cut it. But once again, it's better to overcut on this kind of thing than to undercut it like I did with the first. And this is the second piece that I cut at the top. I just hold it up with my thumb, and I brace this back, and I eyeball it, make sure this is set as well as possible, and I eyeball it where it is. And rather than just mark it like that from what I said, I'm going to bring it down about 1/8 of an inch or more, and then make my mark, and then do my cut. So now we're going to see if everything turns out okay. Alright. It's good that I filmed that last clip about measuring it, and I'll show you why. Because I overcut it, and not by a little bit. And so this is what an angle does, and a real professional knows how to use geometry and all this stuff, so it's worth it to learn this shit in school. Especially the formulas, calculators are necessary. So here we go. It's going to be a little awkward because I have to hold this camera. Okay. First off, we need to put that in place. Not first off, obviously. Here's the cross member. I'm framing it. God. Okay. And I'm doing this backwards. Okay, I just need to illustrate the point. So here I am. It's in the top, and you can see that, look how much I overcut this. And so this is really important. So such it was on a big enough angle, just with that little tilt, this is how much it affected it. So it's very, very important to get this stuff right. And it's amazing how such a seemingly simple thing can lead to a lot of problems in the long run. It's the little details that need to be paid attention to. Okay, sorry about the wind, but I have the frame all cut out and laid here. First off, I'm going to point out something I don't want to, which is the final piece here. You can see I did something that I said not to do and said I wasn't going to do, and that is put a splice in here. This is going to be on the hinge side of the frame rather than on the bolt end of the frame, because I need the bolt end to be stable as possible, and ultimately once these are attached together, they will be wedged in against the frame and the hinges. So it does create a weak point, but as far as the compensation goes, it's better to have that where the hinge is. I could be wrong, but that's the way I'm going to do it. And these things is what's called a mending plate. You might have seen similar things with trusses, and this is not meant for the structural stability of the house. It's perfect for what we're doing with the door. What we do is we just line this up, hammer it in. You can see because of my touching it, it's gone out of alignment. I made these cuts with a handheld circular saw, so everything is not going to be 100% square together. But since I measured it the way you saw, I kept track of which side was facing which, and this is going to be the inside of the door that I'm hammering this on. I do not want these on the outside. It's the inside that I want them on. So I'm going to go ahead and hammer these in. Alright, I have nailed every single one of these into place, and you can see there is a notch cut out right here, unlike that one up there. I'll tell you why in a second. So when nailing these down, I started by lining up every corner as it should. And once again, I wasn't going for perfectly square, but if you are, you would measure from that corner to that corner and take note of the exact measurement, then measure that corner to that corner, and it needs to be exactly the same. And that is how you know something is completely square. But since that was not the goal today, I didn't do it. So since I was splicing something else in here today, I have a handy pair of tin snips. These are very good. You're not going to use them all the time, but when you need it, oh dear God, is it good to have them. So what I did is I cut along here, and then I cut along there. I took out the pieces, and you can see I nailed them here, there, and there, but not along the outside. And this is important. Why? Is because I would need to hammer down, and that would compromise the structure, the strength of what I'm going for. But you can see that it is already more stable than the door I got in there. I'm going to do one more step, which is I'm going to be placing a 2x4 down the center where I'm going to be placing my lock. And you're going to want to use 3-inch deck screws to screw it in from the frame to the other side of the frame. This will make it harder to kick in your door or to break it. And the ultimate goal here is to make it as noisy and as long as possible. If anybody's going to break in, that your neighbors, your co-workers, whoever will hear it and call somebody. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done and show you what we're going to finish with. Okay, real quick here. So since I have the frame done, you test fit it. As you can see, it fits. My measurements were right, and that fits very, very good. It is perfectly compensated here at the bottom for all the ugliness. And the lip back here is going to have weather stripping on it, but there won't be any water coming in to out. We just want it to keep it coming from out to in, and since there's that lip here, that is awesome. That saves us a lot of trouble just to get this passable, so we can move on and get to it later. This has been a good job. I'm happy with this, and I need to get that locked. Okay, here we go. That is that. And you can see that here is the striker plate. And so what I've done is I'm going to get a deadbolt for here, and I'm going to need to do a custom job. So we'll get the bolt, find out the correct distance to place it so it goes right to where it needs to here and not too far. Because if it doesn't go far all the way in latch, then somebody can just get in there and work it out. Okay, it's getting late in the day, and it's taken me all day. I've been doing the steps real slowly, one at a time, filming it, on top of running other errands. So I'm getting to the point to where I'm going to attach this cross member in the door. And the screws is these I'm going to be using for the paneling over the top, but I had these out and prepared, so these are hex screws. I hate using the Phillips screws because it just goes like fucking hell. And these, woo, spend some time. Anyway, they go in and it's very hard to strip these things. The other thing that is necessary, I'm charging up the battery on this. You need 2 batteries. This is an impact hammer drill. And if you're going to be screwing shit in, it's the only way to go. I need to hurry up real quick. I just found out I work in the morning. There's this real good situation I will wrap up and tell you about during the end. I have to get this done. My battery here has just finished getting charged. I am going to be drilling, oh God, 2 screws here and then 2 screws here. I don't have long enough screws to get it done right now, so I'm going to be using 1.5 inch. I said earlier 3 inch. I got this drill. It is a little bit smaller than the head of the screw. I am going to be sinking it in a little bit further, so the head will be flush and I won't have to deal with that extra space. I'm going to get that done and come back. Alright, I have the frame here. I drilled these holes a little bit deeper than I should have, but that's because I want to make sure that they go in all the way. I don't have the time to do this twice. Okay, so here is the frame. I have screwed that in. It is secured. I cut these top pieces. I'm in a really hurry. I couldn't use a circular saw. I'll tell you why later. I cut these. I scored them and cut them with a utility blade. And I'm going to go ahead and screw this in. So this is the finished door. I need to still drill. That's what the outside people see looks like. This much of it cost me a grand total of $8.97. There is scrap wood, and the metal part in the frame are all that's new. The 2x4 and the other stuff, as you can see, it's been used before. That was scrap. So, since I am in a hurry, I'm going to drill through here big enough to fit my galvanized chain through so I can stick the lock in it after I pull it through. I have a metal base that I'm using that is it's made to pull the steering wheel off of a car, so it's real thick, it's heavy duty, and I'm going to use that for the back of it. Okay, it's the next day. I'm at a different location, and what I'm going to do, I spent about $4.50 on a can of spray foam insulation. This is for exterior doors and windows. It's not exactly meant to do a space like I'm going to be doing, but it's going to work out. So I'll keep it on for part of the time doing this. And just so everybody knows, I pre-removed the packaging because it's not a real product unless it's harder to open than it is to use. Alright. Okay. Go in the hole, isn't that always the problem? We're in. So anywhere you get the idea, I'm going to stop and kind of get as much of this done as I can. Okay, so this is going to be the coverage that one can will get you. You can see my goal here was to spray the edges and then use the rest of the can. Right there was the seam from the two boards, and of course everything there. Even though there's nothing here to the outside, I get everything. I want to fill in every middle part here and here, and then sand it, cut it level, sand it, put a back on it, and it's going to be very well insulated. But for right now, for the purposes, this is what I wanted to do. So I've set this aside to dry. It needs at least a few hours to cure. It's going to take 8 hours to totally dry. So you don't want to sand it, cut it, anything for 8 hours, depending upon the heat. You can see right here is I rushed it yesterday, and I need to get my utility blade right here, and I'm going to score along here and also along here all the way down, because we're going to get this flush with the frame. And so with this kind of thin material, initially you go real light to get your channel, and then you go over it several more times. Don't go too heavy here. If you go too heavy, you're gonna slip and most likely you're gonna cut yourself, yada yada. I've done it before. I know what I'm talking about. And so once this is a good way through and you can kind of bend it back a little bit, that's when you come in from behind and score it. Because with your finished edge on this other side, you're going to want that clean as possible. So that's why that gets done last. So I need to wait for it to dry, and I'm just going to kind of carefully go through, because if I touch this, it's still going to be sticky. It's going to get on your hands for a really fucking long time, and any of your clothes there, it's there permanently. So there you go. Okay, I'm back. It is a week later. My door is hung, and it's as done as it's going to get right now until next payday, when I'm going to put the lock I got on it, because I don't have the bit to drill it through. I'm going to go ahead and tell you why it's been a week. So when it first changed from one scene to the other, I was at my old apartment building. I was at the lot next door, which was kind of like abandoned, owned by the bank. They're not selling it. And the property manager came home after like 4 days or whatever at Disneyland. I had talked to everybody there, my former neighbors, and they were okay with it there. So he comes back and he's flipping out. And you can see in the video how close everything is. So he's parked real close, and I'm working on the door. So, and he walks over to a couple of other guys. You know, you probably could see him in the background in one of those videos, one of those clips. And he walks over to them, and I hear him yelling obscenities. You know, oh, fuck, who the fuck is Kari, blah, blah, blah. I have another video in my other video series where I talk about it in the details. Needless to say, even though it's not his property, he comes over screaming at me, and I was like, I'll have this out tomorrow, because there was certified mail for me, and I thought it was a check I was waiting for. A check for my deposit, in fact, which I hadn't gotten. They had 2 days to get it to me, or at this point it was a week, and little under a week. So he's like, goddamn well better be, because if it's here tomorrow, I'm calling it goddamn wrecker. Fuck, I've been gone for fucking a few days, and goddamn place goes to motherfucking hell. Fuck. Real patient piece of shit. They had my place rented out and occupied a week afterwards. I got my full deposit back. Well, not the full deposit. Look at the other video. Piece of fucking shit owner. Jackass fucking slumlord. God. Anyway. So, I hooked my trailer up, and I got out of there. I was out of there within a half hour. And, I didn't redistribute the load. I had a few things break. I just had to get out of there. Last minute, before dark, I got to a place. It was supposed to be for a couple of days. I wore out my welcome. The point here is don't let anybody tell you how to do your fucking project, and I let somebody, and it affected my project, and I'm gonna show you here. So I got to this place, and it's a older couple. They have a very nice house. He's an established business owner, retired. Lay around in a robe all day kind of thing. And so when I get there, he looks at my door and it's like, yeah, all I really need to do is hang it. I'm gonna, paint it and do some foam insulation. That's it. He's like, well, why don't you do it right? I mean, if you're gonna do it, put some molding, some flashing on it, and really get it done right. I mean, if you're gonna do it, and they see the condition of the door, they see this, and it's raining. There's a huge fucking storm that made national news, for God's sake. I don't have a window. It barely is secure. And here they are telling me what to do. And they have another guy in a bus living there in the back. And he's got all these tools and everything. And after a week goes by and I have time, because busy schedule at work. I work 10-hour days, and it's seasonal. It's the fishing season right now. So whatever gets brought in, I'm on a processing crew. So you work as much as you fucking can when you can. So long story short, I didn't get that check till the end of the week. And then I had to wait the weekend until yesterday, which was Monday, to pay and get in this place. And these people, more than out, stage of welcome is going to be a couple of days. It's a week now. That certified piece of mail was a bill from the tax, the state tax. Yay. Okay, so I'm going to get into what I did. You can see that the foam insulation here is on. There is the hole that I drilled for the chain to come through, and I put a padlock. This is the broken handle from the other one. It's just there to open and close it. And so this is where I'm going to drill out for the lock that I have. I painted it, and the guy that helped, I needed a little bit like 1/8 of an inch, and I didn't want it to be exact, and it wasn't square like I explained. And he was treating me like a stupid piece of shit. Like, I've never done this kind of work before in my life. And it was like, get it done. I was supposed to be gone from this place, yesterday. And so it was Sunday that I was getting it hung, and it was late in the day. And so I'm very pleased with the way that it looks. That doesn't have a super homemade look to it. And I've been taking off the stickers that was there, and please, dear God, anyone out there, don't put fucking stickers on it. Jesus Christ, if you're gonna put something up, at least draw something that you like. Make a fucking effort. So, you can see there is a bunch to do, but let me show you what I did on the door. And handle. Okay, so that bolt is to kind of shut it, and I lock it with the chain at night. Whee! Okay, so you see, one thing, I was stressed to get everything here. I was stressed to get everything here finished, and so when I looked, I was like, oh dear God, it's riveted. What am I gonna do? And I had to sit down and calm down, have a cigarette, and the screws are right here for the hinges, and I took these off. I haven't put them back on because they're bent. I'm going to rebend those and straighten them out later. But right now, I just needed it secure, keep out the rain. And so I unhooked it, and I got the door unhooked. And these people here were, why don't you ask for help? Why don't you ask for help? And it's like, I could use a little bit of help here. And they insisted like I'm some kind of child that is incapable of this, like asking. And, life is a two-way street. And the question should have been is, do you have a fucking problem offering? Or do you want to watch me beg? I have a big fucking problem with that shit. I'm not a child. Don't treat me as one. If you haven't guessed by now, I'm transgender. I am in I'm in transition from male to female. Anyway, if you want to know more about that, there is my other video series. So, the doors hung, and the guy had to get like a hand planer out, and he planed the side of this to where it wouldn't fit. But since the door isn't square, there was also an eighth of an inch taken off, and he didn't understand what I was telling him because, once again, he thought I was a stupid piece of shit that didn't know what I was doing. Don't let people tell you how to do your project. It's up to you to take the advice, and then it's up to you. It is your decision, and people forget that. You either take the advice or don't. You do it the wrong way or you do it the right way. There's always a learning experience for if you do it either way. And that's kind of the point of this. So anyway, he didn't understand that this was not made square. Because it was, I'm a carpenter and everything is square. And it's like, no. The point is not that right now. So, the door was really tight. And you can see right there, along here, there is too much of a gap. So when I pull it in at night, I need to get some weather stripping more or less. So it's not right that I have to do that. And, you know, I can't stress enough, don't let people tell you how to do your projects. They saw the condition of my door, and they still gave me advice. Let me sleep in the, getting wet. Anyway, thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. Once again, my name is Kari. I'm going to be doing a lot of these, and, it's life. I'm poor, and I live in this. So, it's going to take time, and I'm not going to always do it the right way. So, until next time, thank you for watching.